So I have these pallet woods. I've been sitting in my backyard for about 4 months now. I want to do something with it, so I'm gonna make a workbench out of it. I'm gonna use the 4x4 into the base of the table. Now, I'm okay with the rugged look. That's the look I'm going for. I know these lumber are not squared, so I will attempt to do my best to square them as much so that in the end everything is flat. So here I am just cutting up some notches for the mortise and tenon part of the base. So now with the cut being made, the easiest method to remove these wastes or the waste is to take a hammer and whack them apart. So having a sharp chisel at this point would actually help, and the chisel I have is not sharp, so I have to use a hammer to persuade the wood to come off. So every joint I have here, I am going to apply the wood glue. I am using the, what is it, Type Bond number 3, which is the water resistant one. This back ledger here, the wood was warped. I use it for my concrete project in the backyard, so having it fit in here perfectly was kind of tough because it was twisted. So the screws that I'm using are 3-inch torque screws. So to get the frame looking a lot square and smooth, I decided to get the electric planer out and plane the posts and the support beam. And for the inside, I decided to use the palm sander to sand out any of the rough spots. So I like the color, or I like the texture and color of burnt wood. I think it looks pretty neat. There are some benefits of burning wood. One of them is the wood being fire resistant, rot resistant, and insect resistant. I also like the way it looks because it reminds me of this Western era. So after burning the wood, what you want to do is you actually want to wipe down the wood to remove all the leftover residual. If you don't, all this black stuff is going to stick onto your clothes and skin. So after wiping it off, surprisingly enough, the wood is very smooth and slick. And I realized that it's because of the oil from the wood that comes out, and it makes it look pretty neat. Here I'm just tacking on some support for the wood, just temporary support, so that when I assemble the table, the wood doesn't fall off. So before doing the glue up, I made sure I label every piece of wood in the order that's supposed to line up before I would glue and assemble. So I went through probably just a quarter of a gallon of the wood glue to glue up, I think, 18 pieces of wood. And I was using the spatula here, thinking it'd be easy. Then I decided, you know what, just use my hand. It's a lot quicker. I was contemplating if I should have the table free floating with these 4 columns just holding the table itself together, and I decided just to glue the columns and support to the table so that it doesn't move. And my alignment here, I had already penned up a line on the wood to match the post so that when I assemble it, I know how far it should be from the left side of the table and right side of the table. And then for this part, I had to squeeze the wood together so that it can actually fit between the posts. And because there was so much glue up, what I ended up doing was I just did this first part of the table, and then for the last, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of wood, I did that the following day. It was a lot cleaner, or less of a mess. So now to trim off the side of the table, it would be nice to have a circle saw that has a blade that's long enough to cut through the wood, but I don't have one of those, so I had to do the top part first and then flip the table over to do the remaining half of it. So when the table is upside down, I also sand the bottom of it, just to make sure everything's smooth. So just to get rid of some of the high spots, I didn't want to deal with the electric planer anymore, so I used my hand planer to remove any of the high spots. And there wasn't much of it, so. So here it looks windy because I had my fan on to blow the dust away, and I had the air compressor nozzle there to blow the dust out of the sandpaper, so it just makes it more efficient. That's why it's so windy. And since I will be moving this table around to a lot of different areas or places, I put on those casters again. So these one, you step on the casters and the table lifts up and then you can move them around. They're weighted, for what's it, 600 pounds. Before applying the oil sealer, I made sure the table was dust free, so I used the air compressor to blow off any of the dust that was on the table in the cracks. And then applying the sealer. I did, can recommend one coat, so I just did one coat. So here's how the table looks like. I was barbecuing that night, so I needed a table to hold my utensils, so here it is. But mainly I will be using it as a workbench on the side of my house. So here's my oak tree Moxon vise, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.